You're listening to the AfterBuzz TV Network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Dean Johnson.
The AfterBuzz Studios in Los Angeles, California. Presented by Maria Menounos and Bing.com. And streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies. This is AfterBuzz TV's Bar Rescue After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. If you'd like to buzz in on tonight's show, you can buzz us at 424-256-1729. That's 424-256-1729. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AfterBuzz TV's Bar Rescue After Show.
I feel like we're doing karaoke.
I know.
We're waiting.
We've been on the run, driving in the sun, looking out for #1, California.
Welcome back, Bar Rescue fans. Bing is for doing it, and we are doing another episode of Bar Rescue. We are in season 2 and doing episode 5 called The Bottomless Pit, which is the title for the restaurant, The Olive Pit, located in Orange, California. I'm your host, Kimlai, and here with me tonight is my fantastic co-host,
Dorinda.
Dorinda Barker.
Dorinda Barker. I thought I'd be like Cher today and just use one name.
I'm Kimlai. This is Dorinda. We go with my one-word first name.
Exactly.
So we've got a great recap for you guys tonight. The episode aired last night, and I feel it was one of my favorite episodes, probably because of the father-daughter relationship.
Yeah.
But we've got 2 great callers calling in tonight. We have Chef Brian Duffy, who we're going to be talking to here in just a few minutes, and he's going to actually recap the recap with us. And then we have recon specialist for this episode, Nicole Taffer, who's going to be joining us a little bit later in the show. Shout out. So, Dorinda.
Yes.
What did you think of this episode? Just as a whole.
As a whole, I really liked it, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was more informative. Their episodes are always informative, but this one, for some reason, was a little bit more informative on a lot of things that Jon talked about, as far as the kitchen went, even as the bartenders went. They really didn't talk that much about the bar because they were trying to keep the whole dive going on. They did talk about sales, which is great. That's another thing that's so helpful. But the show on a whole, I really liked it, and I thought it was a little more endearing because it did have the father-daughter, you know, experience, the push and the pull and the togetherness, which I really liked.
I thought it was really interesting too, that dynamic. You know, we haven't seen yet a family dynamic like that where the dad isn't ready to give it over, and he doesn't want to go fishing, he doesn't want to go golfing, he wants to sit at his bar and drink. And I was really surprised at that, considering his financial background.
Yes.
And then also, fast forwarding to the end of the episode, when it was over, I was like, wait, they didn't talk. Wait, they didn't reconstruct the bar. Wait, there were so many things. It seemed like that could have been a much longer episode.
Yeah.
To me, I just felt like it just ended.
Yeah, there was a lot, and I thought like the dad really wanted it to be his basement bar and, you know, be inappropriate with everybody that worked there.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
You know, speaking as a guy, that actually hit me quite well.
Feels like I want to retire like that.
No, well, I don't want to retire like that, but I think to Jon's point of like, hey, if this is all you want, like I'll install a stereo system and all that. And you know what? Awesome. I feel like if you just said that to most guys, because every guy has a fantasy of owning a bar.
That's
and you know what? No, you could build it in your basement. You don't have to leave your house. You can invite your friends, and you know it's going to cost you money, but it's not going to cost you as much money because it's in your house. And so it's meant to be fun, and I think ultimately that's what he should still build in his house.
Maybe he can still get that stereo system.
You should.
Because he gave it over to his daughter.
That's true. He could get lights in there. He can pump that
Ooh, a disco ball. Oh.
And slap as many butts as he wants.
I know. Or, yeah. Oh, that was so... Okay, when they replayed that video, and he was using her hand, doing this... it was like, oh.
I was okay.
That got me.
So now, when watching that, when I finally saw what was happening, because I really couldn't see what was happening, and then
What
when
do you
really,
mean?
I was like, what are they doing with his behind? Like, I was grossed out even more. I have to be honest. When I knew she was slapping him, I was still a little grossed out, but not as grossed out as what my imagination was taking.
Right.
Because I was like, what are they doing with his? I was appalled.
Well, and you could tell she didn't really want to be a part of that.
No.
Well, all right. What are the proper ramifications for? No, because that, as much as they made a big deal out of it, they didn't go into. Okay, he said it's morally wrong, and it's illegal.
It's illegal.
So what are the proper? Now, what should have been done? I guess.
Well, okay, if it were. Okay, I've had a situation where it was morally illegal, and you file a sexual harassment claim.
Yes.
I mean, that's morally what you do. I think that people were he's older, and everyone knew he was kind of retired, and so, I think you let that go on. You don't have to obviously let it go on, but I just think they might have felt a little bad for him.
I think that, and I also think on top of that, if he was younger, they probably would have done something about it, because it would not, that'd be no bueno, none whatsoever. But because I've seen enough sexual harassment videotapes, I've seen enough hours of them, where like even the littlest things are bad, and he really went above and beyond.
Right.
Like, he was fantastic at it.
Well, I've seen situations. I feel like it was a situation of after the fact they probably were like, okay, do you want to actually file sexual harassment charges? And I feel like everyone was like, no, as long as he doesn't do it again. And that you know what I mean? And I wish, if that was the case, I wish they kind of kept that in there. But
it definitely could have went down that road. I was. When I started watching it, it was like it could go one way or it could go another, because he did not want to give the bar up. I did not expect it to go the way it did.
Yeah.
I was pleasantly surprised that he decided to actually let it go.
Yeah.
At first, I thought he was... when they showed him going outside, I thought his reveal was going to be, welcome, everybody. I am not giving up my bar. Come on inside, and I'm having a drink with you.
Yeah, I thought that was going to really happen. But then I was like, they're building it up too much. And I think Taffer really would have been ticked off if...
Well,
that
before
would
we
have
get
made
into
a great
all that,
show.
do we want to go to the bar? Not the bar, I'm sorry, the kitchen. And so I'll get Brian on the phone.
Let's go ahead and get Brian on the phone. And while you do that, I want to give a shout out to all the people out there who are downloading us on iTunes. Thank you so much, because you have made Bar Rescue one of the, is it top 5?
Well, yeah, it's in the top 10 this week.
Top 10 this week. Put us back in the top 5. Whoop, whoop.
Yes, let's go back there. I like that better.
Yes. So download us and tell a friend. Leave comments. We love the comments. So definitely, if you're not watching us live right now, download it. Listen to us as you're going to work.
Yes, I actually had someone tweet me and said that they listened to it on their way to work.
Right.
They put it in their car, and they listen to it back and forth when they're going to work and coming home.
There you go.
Which is awesome.
Kimlai and Dorinda, we want you to listen to us. Kimlai,
well, I have Brian on the phone.
Oh, now we have Brian, too.
Here we go.
What's up? Oh, it's not 2 a.m. This is not a drunk dial.
Oh,
Darn
it's
it.
way too early for the drunk dial.
It is. Dang it. How are you?
What's up, people?
What's up?
How you doing?
You guys are like my new favorite friends.
Oh,
thank you.
You're our new favorite friend, too.
Good.
Okay,
Good.
so
As long as we've established that. Okay.
absolutely.
But I do have a question for you.
She's talking to you.
Are you folding your laundry right now?
Yes. I'm sitting on my couch. I'm folding laundry. It's the life of a chef. It's what we do.
There you go. Well, have you been listening in so far?
A little bit, yes.
Okay, because we are getting ready to go into the kitchen of the Olive Pit.
Oh boy.
So we're really glad to have your expertise on the line with us and doing this recap. What was your first thought as you guys went into that kitchen with that one person in the kitchen?
You know, it was a really tough kind of beginning to watch. As you see it happen from from production. You know, when we're sitting in that kitchen or in the production truck and watching all the video cameras and watching these things happen, it's amazing what you see. You know, Julie was she was a wonderful person. You know, a lot of times they get made out to be. You know, you only see snippets of it. But I spent 3 days with this lady, and she was a sweetheart. You know, she had a great background and a great history, and she started working there 4 years ago. And you know, she didn't have any training. She had no rules. She had nothing to follow, so she didn't have to do anything. So when I walk into the kitchen, the first thing I see is unused equipment. You know, they showed one shot of a freezer that said use Velcro to hold door closed. Yeah,
At least they were resourceful.
And it's not like it was an enclosed area.
Right.
I mean, you could see it from the bar. So you really got to see it. But the first thing that hit me was the sign that said Velcro must be used to hold the door closed, and the smell.
Oh.
There's a smell of grease.
Oh.
That happens
Okay.
when restaurants are just not clean. It permeates everything: your clothes, the walls, the metal, the doors, the carpet. It permeates through everything. So that was really the first thing that hit me.
Oh, that's like a lot of times. Right.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
When you walk into a dive bar, I mean, when you walk out and your clothes, everything reeks of the smell of the place that you were just in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it sits heavy
Yes.
on you.
I mean, I have, you know, I've been in enough places, and I've opened enough places. I have rehabbed places. I've walked into places that have been closed for 6, 8 months, 10 months, a year. And this place just really smelled. It was one of the worst smelling places. I mean, don't get me wrong, Murphy's was pretty bad as well.
Right.
Downey's was really bad. But it was just old grease.
Right.
Old grease and rancid. Oh, it was horrible.
Well, you know what? I have a question for you. I mean, considering that you're a trained chef, and you're going in with Jon to some of these bars, and in a lot of bars, they're not necessarily trained chefs; they're cooks.
Yeah.
How do you determine? A lot of the menus I've seen you put together it's like high-end bar food. But how do you determine it's not necessarily dive bar food? It seems a little more upscale. Do you find that they generally keep with that kind of food after you leave? Because it's so different. Your level is so different than their level.
You know, Jon is really, really good to work with, because Jon has his vision for what he sees, and he has a very good way of talking to us as experts and saying, hey, guys, look, you know, here's the deal. This girl it's a one-person kitchen. She's the only person who works in that kitchen.
Okay, that I couldn't believe that either.
Yeah, could you sense I was a tad bit upset? I don't know if you guys got that or not.
Yeah,
I don't know
felt
if I
that through the
portrayed
TV.
that enough. You know, Jon had said to me beforehand, he was like, Bri, there's one person in the kitchen. And I try to stay out of the kitchens. I try not to know anything about the people before I go in, because you know, I mean, no matter what, it's still TV. So I really have to have a shock value, I guess, in some cases. Sometimes they'll say, Bri, this is really bad. But Jon said to me before this, Julie's a really good person. You know, because he had been watching the tapes for a little while, and he said, I want to make it easy for her. So the sandwiches were his idea. He said, what can we do to make it as easy as possible for one person to execute food at a high level?
Okay.
And then we kind of started going back and forth and talking about it. So when I create stuff, after we go through the initial parts of it, and I start doing the recipes, because when we leave, they have recipes, they have spec sheets, as much as we can give them in a 5-day period.
Right.
I try to get them set up with a U.S. Food or a Cisco or a purveyor that will deal with them and handle them. And they also have to understand, a lot of times these guys are shopping at the grocery store.
I was just going to say, I'm surprised that more bars aren't set up with accounts like that already.
But you know, you have to realize that in the case of Downey's from last year, when I was there in 1999, we were doing almost $40,000 in food sales a week. When I got there last year, they were doing a little over $2,000 in food sales.
You went from 40 to 2?
To have a purveyor come in, it's not worth their time. So a lot of these guys are shopping at supermarkets. And, you know, the beef that I pulled out of the olive pit off of the shelf that was dripping on top of the lemons, or was that a lime? I
think it was a lime.
No, it was a lemon.
It was a hairy lime. No, I know.
It was so gross.
But remember, he was like, is this a lemon or is this a lime? It's like, it's a lime with hair. That was gross.
So bad. So bad.
But that was 5 pounds of ground beef from the grocery store.
Yeah.
You know, so they're buying all of their lunch meats that are pre-sliced from the grocery store. They're buying they're buying 15 lemons. They're not buying a case of stuff.
Right.
You know, I mean, I'm used to dealing in restaurants where we're spending $8,000, $10,000, $12,000 a week on produce.
Right, exactly, and that's what I mean by you coming in. I mean, they're obviously not doing that. You're coming in. You're at a different level.
Yeah. When I sit down and we get through everything and it's all said and done, I try to design items for the menu that are easy to execute. For her in Olive Pit, I mean, all she had to do was take the beef out of the Alto Sham. I created a spice blend for them.
Yep.
You know, I showed her exactly how to get the pork done. I showed her how to do it. We gave her a brand new slicer. We gave her a brand new Alto Sham. We had a hood company come in. Their hood system hadn't been cleaned since 2010.
Yeah, that was really gross. Watching the replay of how it drips, the grease drips onto, and it started grease fire.
That was amazing.
It's like, I thought the whole build, I thought it was going to explode at some point during the show.
We have
I was like dancing around. I was watching the show, and I was like, oh my God, because the production company's amazing, and they do such a great job with the graphics and stuff. That was so cool. I liked that.
But I'm going to take one of your quotes, by the way. We have an opportunity to kill people on a daily basis. When you were talking about all that, and I was just like, oh. Okay, because you're watching this whole thing, and it was gross, and it was disgusting. I was at times. How do you feel when you go into these places? How do you feel about going out to dinner after that to other places? I have a very good background in food. I graduated culinary school in 1993. I walked into my first chef position 6 months after graduating from school. So I made a boatload of mistakes. So I've seen them all along the way. The last bunch of years, I was the corporate executive chef for 11 restaurants. I really had a blast doing that. So I've seen a tremendous amount. It's very, very hard for me at this point to go out to eat, because the level of care is just non-existent. I'm not saying it in every single place, but it's hard for. I just went out to eat to dinner tonight, and I finally said to the waitress, I hate to tell you this, but I ordered my appetizers 29 minutes ago.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, 29 minutes ago for the appetizers, and I'm sitting there with my sister and my children and my niece and nephew, who were dancing around in a restaurant, and they're very good eaters. Don't get me wrong, but our entrees came out an hour and 25 minutes after we sat down. There's just, it's bad.
Brian, let me ask you this. This is Phil, one of the producers. Is there, you guys talk a lot about the ticket time. Is there a different notion of ticket time for appetizers? For, like when you guys were making sandwiches, I imagine sandwiches take a faster time to make than, a burger, than a steak. Like, does it fluctuate, or is it always like 12 minutes you want to hit the mark?
Standard rule is 8 and 12 to 8 and 14. You want to have your appetizers out in 8 minutes. You want to have your entrees out in 14 minutes. That's typically the way that it works from the time the check comes in. So when we set these things up, and Jon walks into the kitchen during every episode. You guys only see it once or twice when he asks, but he'll look at me and say, hey, Brian, where are we? That to me is basically like a general manager coming up to me and checking to see how the kitchen is. And I'll respond, we're at 20 minutes, 25 minutes. Man, when you hit 25 minutes or 30 minutes, you're in the weeds. Now, it's hard to pull out of that.
Let me ask you this. How personally do you take that when you are behind? Do you kind of allow it to fall onto the other person, or are you like, damn it, I want to do this, I'm making Jon mad, I'm not doing my job. I got to step up myself.
Oh, he stepped it up.
That is such a great question, because as a chef, oh my God. You know, you talk to chefs, and we have conversations about this stuff. You know, I'm going out with a bunch of chefs tomorrow night, and I'm pumped. Because this is the stuff that we talk about. Yo, how was Friday night? How many covers did you do? You know, what was it like? What were your check times? How were the servers? You know, I mean, I love that stuff. And for me, when Jon comes in and he asks, especially the first couple of episodes that I did, or the first times that I really worked with Jon, I took it very personally.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, I had to say to myself, you know what? This is what they're supposed to do. I mean, they're supposed to, not really, we don't want them to fail, but we push the hell out of them. You know, you don't have a bartender or a bar expert standing over top of you, screaming at you, you overpoured, throw the drink out. You know, I mean, you don't have that in real life, and we do it to these people, to the people, because they have to feel that pressure. They have to understand what it's like, because we have to get them ready for that next night, that night that we open. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times they are.
Well, how did you feel about Tracy's dad, Tim? At that time, the bar owner. How did you feel about him helping out in the kitchen? Because, you know what we saw, it looked like he was moving so slow. It's like, what the heck? What were their food sales? I mean, obviously they didn't really, it wasn't about the food, but it was so slow for a kitchen. I didn't understand that.
You know, there was one shot that they had of Julie saying to him, you know, hey, Tim, grab this. Can you get this to him? Here, hand it to him. And then this hand just kind of comes into the shot and just gently kind of walks over next to me and just holds it out. Like, I don't know if you guys know, but I had like a spidey sense that was going on behind me that I knew that was there. I never grabbed that sandwich. He finally just turned around and put it back down on another table.
We saw that. Yeah. That's what was shown, yeah.
The funniest, you know, he really tried hard on that night. I'm not a negative person. He really tried hard, but it was painful to watch. It was painful to watch, because when I'm in kitchens and I talk to staff, okay, how long is that taking you? Why is it taking this long? Let me show you a shortcut. Let me show you a way to get that onion cut faster. Let me show you a trick. You know, people make fun of me all the time, because I always say, hey, let me show you a trick. And that really means get the hell away from what you're doing. I'm going to show you a better way.
I want to be in that kitchen with you.
I have so much fun.
Dorinda and I would love.
And I'll put this challenge out there.
We'd love
Anybody
dinner
wants
talk,
to chop an onion faster than me, stop by and give me a call.
Oh, that's a challenge. There you go. That's a challenge. Did you think it was unrealistic?
You guys can follow me and find me.
Yeah, I know we are.
I know. I love following you guys.
Yeah, we know. Wait, I think it's the other way around. Do you think it's unrealistic to have that one person in the kitchen, especially if they're going to do that volume of sales?
Do I think it's unrealistic? I don't think it's unrealistic at all. But if you have no passion and you have no drive for what you're doing, then yes, it's unrealistic. If you want to succeed and move forward, then it's absolutely realistic. Because you know what? The way that menu was designed, and I can hear Jon saying it to me in my head, Bri, she's one woman in the kitchen. And that was why AltoSham got involved.
Right.
Because that was an amazing oven. You know, that thing is a cook and hold. She can realistically pop that stuff in there before she leaves at night, and pull it back out the next morning, and it's ready to go.
Well, it seems
so. As long as you're prepared and you're organized, you can do it, because you're slicing the meats. At one point, you saw her pre-slicing some of the meats and putting them onto a tray. We had talked, and I said, Julie, look, you're going to get hit tonight. You're going to sell 22 turkey sandwiches. You're going to sell 31 roast beef sandwiches. You're going to sell 18 turkey sandwiches, or whatever it was. You know, like in my brain, with my knowledge, I had an idea of what we were going to sell that night. I said, pre-slice your rolls. Have your garnishes already set up. Let's get the cheeses sliced and put over here so that everything's ready to go. So I try to set them up for success.
Yeah, and I guess, you know, if you do your prep work, I mean, you do get into a rhythm, and you're able to put everything together more quicker. It's quickly.
It's called mise en place.
Mise what?
Mise en place.
Mise en place. It means everything in its place.
Nice.
And you go into any kitchen, and your chef walks through the line. I remember I did my apprenticeship at the Four Seasons multitudes of years ago, and Jean-Marie Lacroix would walk down the line and say, "Guys, gentlemen, are you meased up?" "Yes, chef, we're meased up." Which means, yeah, man, I'm ready to go. Get him in here.
Right.
Let's go. And you'll see in the next episode that we do.
Yes.
That was a fun one.
The
Those
black
guys
sheep?
got pumped.
Are you talking about the black sheep?
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't seen
Next week.
Oh,
No, you haven't seen it. It comes on next week.
Oh, good. Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait. I want to say something, though. I saw something different. You were behind the bar tonight. You walked in and you were behind the bar before you even went to the kitchen. And you were telling them how dirty their bar was and everything else. I thought that was a nice little side of Chef Duffy that we haven't seen. Because you're always in the kitchen.
Sometimes they pull us into different scenarios. That was a very, very dramatic point because, I even tweeted something about this last night. Standing next to Jon's a very powerful being. And I don't mean that in like a mythological way or anything like that. Like, I mean that in a physical sense. I mean, the guy's 6'2", and he's a big dude. He's not a little guy.
He looks like
and
a
I'm
big
no
dude.
stranger to a big guy. I mean, I'm a big dude as well. But he's a big dude, and when they had said, "Brian, I want you to go back behind the bar with him," and I was standing next to him, I could feel him getting just furious. And as they started to pull stuff out, and so sometimes they'll I don't know, maybe the producers sensed that it was going to be a really bad scene, and they wanted all of us in there, or whatever it is. I don't know. I mean, in my background, I walk through bars. I do full-on on-site evaluations that are 8 hours long. I mean, so I'm used to doing all of that stuff. I've always got a thermometer and a flashlight, so I'm used to seeing all that stuff.
I guess I always have a wine opener.
Yeah, I always
Absolutely.
have one on my purse.
So do I.
I always have one on my purse.
Do you have anything for him?
Well, I think I asked a lot of my questions.
Well, I have. Hey, Brian, this is Phil again. I just have one more. What I really loved about Julie was the fact that she actually cried when you put in all the new equipment, and she seemed genuinely willing to learn. Can you talk about her as a person, and is this the type of person that you kind of want to always educate, and how do you think she'll do after this?
I want to educate every single person that I meet. I grew up from a family of educators, so if I don't know something, I'm going to get as much information about that as possible. It's that simple. My girlfriend laughs at me all the time because I have too much information on stuff. For me, Julie was a very, very nice person, and she was a deer caught in headlights. She didn't expect this. She didn't know what was going to happen. She started to get a little lippy with me at one point, and I had to kind of assert my authority. It was a quick snippet that they showed, which I found very odd. They did it in one clip where I said, "Don't talk to me like I'm an effing a-hole." It was very clear that I was tired of excuses at that point. She had never been given any training. She had never been given. They didn't have a menu, for God's sakes.
Yeah, the walking menu.
Okay, I knew there was something we forgot to talk about.
I figured we'd get to that. That's good.
That's a walking menu.
And Dorinda was saying earlier, that would be a great idea if you had one of the wait staff. I mean, if they were obviously staffed to do that, that's kind of a good idea to have a walking menu. But
there were a couple of things that the bartenders talked about that nobody heard. They used to feed her shots to see if they could get her drunk.
Who?
So
Julie.
Now, I really liked her. She was a very nice person, and but she played right into it. She played into the same game. She wanted to be out front half the time and talking to the customers, and because the customers that would come in there knew her. The bartenders what I heard was that originally it was kind of a joke. They said, "Well, Julie, you have to take orders as well." So she just did it.
And she took it so literally.
And that's why I got so mad, because she kept saying to me, "I was told that I had to take the orders. I was told."
It's almost
so
like
they just kind of played with her, and they would put a shot at the end of the bar, and I don't know. I don't want to get into all that stuff, but
I think it's
She was
hard.
a good kid, and I tried to give her as much information as I could, especially while I was working with her, because there's a lot of time that you guys don't see.
Of course.
I mean, I spent a boatload of time in that kitchen with her.
Well, she's definitely better for having you in there. The whole restaurant is better.
I hope. She's posted some stuff on my wall that she was a little afraid afraid of what was going to be aired last night. I hope she's happy with it, and I really hope that I haven't been back to the place. I mean, I'm an East Coast guy, so I'm rarely in down that way, but I hope she's doing well. I really do.
Well, Brian, thank you so much for calling in. Dorinda and I, Phil, we're huge fans of yours, and we're going to keep following you. We know you're on the episode next week, so I will probably be hitting you up this week. So
That'll
thank
be
you.
a good one.
We're going to let you go finish folding those clothes.
And where do fans find you?
Oh, yeah, thank you. Thanks, guys, very much. Dorinda, watch out for those cops, okay?
Okay. Chef Brian, are you still there?
Yes, I am.
Tell everybody who's listening where they can follow you.
I am so easy to find. I am Chef Brian Duffy on Facebook. I am also Chef Bri Duff on Twitter. And then my website is Chef Brian Duffy. It's all pretty simple. I kind of keep it basic, guys. Chef Bri Duff is the fun one, Twitter, because that's where I get loud and obnoxious.
Nice. All right, well, thank you so much. We'll be talking to you soon.
Thank you, Brian.
You got it, guys. Have a good night. Take care.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
He was fun.
Yeah, he's jovial. That's a good word. Jovial.
I could have just kept talking. We could have talked about other things.
Before we get into Nicole, I want to talk about, because Dorinda her and I got to watch it together, and she really educated me. I really loved the pouring with the ball in it. That was why isn't everybody using this?
That is amazing.
Okay, it is. It's great and it's amazing. I looked from a different side of it.
Okay.
Only because I've been doing it. Not anymore, but has done it so long that my problem is you should know how to do your job. When you do something like that, it then dumbs you down.
Okay, a little.
That's only where I'm coming from as someone, being like an artist or doing their job the way it should be. That's where I had a problem with it. I think it's great, though. I do think it's great it's mindless, so you don't have to think about anything.
Right.
You don't, just pour it. That's your normal 1.5 ounce pour and stuff like that. Airports have had it for eons. You go to an airport and you watch. You'll see it a lot of times. They'll have looks like an extension cord on each bottle, and they pour and they do that. I think it's a great thing, but I also think on the other side, when I was talking to Phil, is you should know what to do without having that ball. It's like dumbing it down for people. That's just my opinion, but I still think, especially going into a place like this, I think it was great to have.
I do too.
And it's ingenious.
If they removed that someday, you're right, because they wouldn't know, because you're going to get so used to having that. I think it's an amazing tool. I would like one at my house because I have no idea how to make a drink.
Here's the thing, it's tough because I even have, here at AfterBuzz TV, we have engineers, and you want to train them, and you don't want to. I've never wanted to become button pushers. Marissa, who does a lot of the other shows, she's not a button pusher, and we have a few new people coming in, and yes, I want it to be as simple as possible, but I wanted to have that knowledge, and despite that, I still haven't figured out a full way to be able to do 100% that. Make it 100% easy, but also have them have that knowledge that if something ever went wrong, as technology eases up, you can also become a little bit dumber because it's, for lack of a better word, idiot-proof.
Right. Yeah. But I'm all for gadgets. Yeah. Anything to make it a little bit more simple. And I think, though, in this case, when they're going in and these folks didn't really know how to make the drinks to begin with, and they have such a small window of time to learn.
Yeah, and these guys...
It works for something like this.
Yeah, and if you're going to, how people like to say they're mixologists nowadays, which is
I like that. Mixologist. We're putting air quotes around that. Mixologist.
You can't see it on iTunes. I put air quotes on that. I guess these would be just bartenders because they're
not to cut you off, but we have Nicole on the line.
Oh!
Hey, everybody.
Hi, Nicole.
Hey, Nicole. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Awesome. You having a good night?
Yeah.
Thanks for calling in.
Oh, sure, no problem.
So we were just right in the middle of talking about the bar and the specialists going in and giving them the little gadgets to pour without having to count the seconds for the pour. So you joined us right as we were talking about that. So how did you feel doing the recon for this particular episode?
Oh, for the OP?
Yep.
I wasn't sure I'm never really sure what I'm walking into until I get in there, and it's always interesting. And I actually had an encounter. It didn't quite make the cut, but I had an encounter with the owner of that place, and he was a little creepy. So the place was absolutely filthy, and it was pretty. I always get the wrong end of the stick the wrong end of the deal on these situations. So it's never a good experience for me.
To that, I just a quick question. Do you ever have like a signal for Jon? Because I know he's obviously watching it. Where like, Jon, get me the hell out of here right now. Storm in.
Not really. Not really. I'm a big girl, and I got to go in there. And sometimes I end up getting food poisoning or get hit on by some creep. And it's just part of the job. It's an ugly job, but somebody's got to do it.
Okay, so tell us, was there any inappropriate behavior from Tim?
A little bit. I had actually, when I was waiting for my food for about 45 minutes, I asked who the manager was, and they pointed me over to Tim. And so they didn't show it on the show for this episode because they can't show everything. I'm in there for about 2 hours sometimes. And I walked over to him, and as soon as I walked up to him, he put his arm around my waist and pulled me in.
Oh, ew.
Were you like, Daddy, bring me closer?
So he's a bit of a creepy crawly with everybody, I think.
How did you feel about that relationship between Tim and Tracy?
I don't think it was. I didn't really work together with them that much, but I think their relationship was pretty normal. I think for mom and pop kind of business for a father and daughter. I think that he was still trying to maintain his control while still trying to keep her doing all the rough work for him.
Right. Do you think it's okay for the owner to be chilling at the bar as long as he was drinking? Do you think it's ever okay to drink at the bar?
Never. If you're an owner of a business, you should never be doing that.
I know when
that is one thing that Jon condones totally. I mean, we both believe that if you own a bar, if you want to get into that business, you should not be acting like a patron. You should be watching your business and managing it.
Right.
Not partying, because even as everybody knows, even one drink sort of knocks you off your judgment.
Yeah, I agree. Whenever I was behind the bar, I went and drank behind the bar because I knew I had money to count at the end of the night. I knew I had other things to do, and my cohorts would, be doing whatever they did, and I always wanted to make sure I was the sober one, making sure everything was fine.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can still have a good time as an owner or manager or even a waitress, but you don't have to be drinking.
No, not while you're working.
No,
never.
No.
Now, Jon said this last week. He kind of knows going into it, and he feels really bad about it. He can kind of know if a bar is going to succeed or not after the fact. Do you have that same feeling when you do your recon work?
Sometimes, but I haven't been doing it quite as long as Jon has, and he's the expert, not me.
How did you feel about this one? I mean, did you get a good vibe going in there?
Well, sort of. After meeting Tracy for a little bit and talking with her, I did get a good vibe because I think that she really, really wants the place to succeed, and she really, really wanted to be in charge. And I think when somebody really has that kind of inbred ambition, I think they can succeed. So after meeting Tracy for a little bit, I did have a good feeling that they were going to be okay.
How did you? You didn't seem too shocked with the walking menu.
Oh, yeah. That was just the most... honestly, after doing this for so long, for Jon, doing my little spy recon work, it shocks me how it doesn't shock me that there's always something new.
I know you seem a little like, I've been through this one before. It's like walking menu.
I always say to myself, I can't imagine what it's going to be next time that's going to throw me off my chair. And that one was really amazing. I was like, a walking menu. I've never heard of such a thing. And she really didn't even have a walking menu. She just sort of made it up as she went along. We don't serve appetizers. I was like, that would be the easy thing for you to do. I mean, it just seemed like she was so lazy that doing appetizers would have been right up her alley. But for her to say we don't even offer appetizers was shocking to me. And it was just a bit of a cop-out because I don't think she actually knew what she had in the back. I think she happened to have been making burgers,
well, obviously.
so that was on the menu at the moment.
Yeah, and I got that feeling too. I think it was like, well, right now I'm making a ham sandwich. Would you like that? Like that was the walking menu.
Exactly. I mean, that was the vibe that I got. Is that someone else had ordered a burger before me. So sure, how about a burger? Okay. So it was like, after I had actually asked her about five different things that every bar typically has. How about some cheese sticks or some poppers or something like that, and when I got to the burger, I noticed that the guy next to me ordered a burger, so that's what she was making, so that's what I got. And it was disgusting.
I about died when they showed the clip of the bun flopping over.
Oh, that is that's awful.
It was actually funny to me. I noticed you ate it.
It was so soggy. It was really, really gross.
Okay. Do you have to eat everything you order? That's a good question because you go in there and you do order, and I always wanted to know, do you have to eat and drink everything you order?
Yes. Yes. Sometimes I really don't want to, but I have to know what it is that I'm getting into. And unfortunately, yes, I do have to at least take a bite to know what it is, to know what they're doing wrong.
Well, you made a comment that the Long Island, their pour, it was really, really strong.
Yeah, and when I said that to her, that she was shocked, like as if I didn't know what a Long Island was supposed to taste like. But I guess in their bar in particular, I guess that's how they make them. It was extremely stiff. I took one sip and I was like, if I have any more of this, I'm going to be wasted after like two or three sips rather.
Well, I was going to say.
Let me ask you this: what do you say to people? Because I think, I'm seeing this a lot on the show. Everyone just kind of overpours. No one's really underpouring. And I think it stems from the fact that, you as a bartender, as an owner, just want to have that pride of, like, we give the most alcohol for you. Like, we love, you know what I mean? You're kind of, it almost seems like you're tending to the customer more. And I know, like, if I was a customer, I'd be like, yeah, I want more alcohol in my drink.
Worth.
And, how would you argue that mentality, I guess, if that's even the question?
No, it's a totally valid question, and I completely understand what you're trying to say. Because they don't know how to make a perfect drink, they're trying to overcompensate by giving more liquor, and that they're trying to do it as a cover-up. And I think a lot of people actually don't like that, because if a drink is just like any other recipe, if it's not mixed properly, it's just not going to taste good. And if there's too much liquor in there, it's not going to taste good. You're going to get drunk too quickly, and you're not going to feel well. So I think it's a recipe for disaster, because they think by pouring more liquor in the drink that they're overcompensating. They think they're going to make you happy, and in the end, I don't really know anybody that likes a drink that isn't mixed well.
Yeah, but in a place like that, I find more people are just going in there to get drunk than, let's say, at a dive bar, than, let's say, other places that you guys have been to, though. Don't you think?
Well, yeah, to a certain degree, but I still think that someone would appreciate just a drink that tastes really good. Then, most people walk into a place like that and order a beer. If they're ordering a cocktail or something, they want it to taste right, and then have a few of them. I mean, they want to go there to have a good time, and they want to spend at least a couple of hours there, and they don't want to just get slammed after one drink. Yeah. So I don't think that really works. I don't think someone wants to get wasted in 30 minutes and then have to leave.
Well, let me ask you this too. It was, you guys in between the show during the commercials, there's always that spacing tip, right? Drink water in between. And then it hit me like, wow, if you give them water, they'll stay sober, they'll drink more. And what are like other tips / strategies, whether it be for the owners or for just even a customer, of how to make your night enjoyable, or like not get as drunk and yet have a fun time? Because I think that's a really cool tip, and I never looked at it that way, of like,
I didn't either.
Wait, I can make my night longer, have more drinks, and yet not be hungover.
Well, I think a lot of the simple things is having little snacks to give at the bar. Not everyone, a lot of people, particularly these days, are on budgets, and they don't have a whole lot of money to spend on their drinks and something to eat. So I think leaving popcorn, nuts, and things like that at the bar is something that's also a spacer. So I think leaving a little snack for your guests, it doesn't cost a fortune to put a couple of things on the bar. So I think that's another alternative, is having games at the bar, anything to sort of divert someone's attention from just sitting there and just drinking the whole time that they're there is always a good thing. A couple of snacks, a glass of, put a glass of water out, or at least offer it to them, and maybe some of the trivia games, things like that. I find that people stay a lot longer when they have something else to do.
Right. I'm surprised sometimes when I go into bars, that are just bars with no food. Nothing. Like you said, there's no popcorn. You said put out some popcorn, put out some nuts. There's none of that. And it surprises me because I think that in any, I was going to say alcoholic establishment, any establishment that sells alcohol, you should offer some sort of supplement to that alcohol. And it surprises
me. I agree
me
completely. It is a hospitality business, and I think being hospitable is giving your guests something to drink and a little something to nibble on.
Right.
So I completely agree with that. Yeah, bars like that really strike me right in the head sometimes, because I can't believe that they're just like they call themselves someone who wants to be in the hospitality business, and they don't know the first thing about
really
it.
Hospitable.
Because if you want people to hang around, everyone wants to go to a place where they feel comfortable and they want to spend a little bit of time. And if you're just serving drinks, I just don't understand how you expect people to stay longer.
Well, you know what, Nicole, I have a question. Okay, I want to get into, we've got one more topic that I thought we have not touched upon yet, and that is his behavior and the bar staff. And because this seemed more like a father-daughter, there were so many elements that were not in this one that were in other episodes, like the revamping of the whole bar, the huge emphasis on the food and then the drinks. And it seemed this one was more geared towards the relationship and his inappropriate behavior. So were you surprised that all that came out when Jon had the staff lined up and he made Tim watch that video, which that was hard to watch as a viewer?
Yes.
And then watching the staff cry because they had all been, in one way or another, touched by Tim.
Yeah.
What was your take? How did you feel? Exactly. What was your take on that? How did that make you feel?
You mean as far as Tracy's concerned, or just as a woman?
Just as a woman watching that. I definitely wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, that was really hard for me because we were all young and we've all worked in restaurants, or we've all worked for somebody at some point, and to be vulnerable and need that job and be in that kind of situation is just really one of the worst places to be. And sometimes it's a double-edged sword, because he's actually a nice guy, but I think when he starts drinking, he gets in that creepy mode, and it's difficult for these girls to say no because they need that job, but they also are fond of him because because when he's not drunk, he's a nice guy. So he's sort of a father figure in a way, but then again, he's like this creepy boss guy when he gets drunk. And I think it was really difficult for them to admit that, particularly to his face, because now it's all in the open and it's uncomfortable for everybody. And it's really unfair to them because they don't want to say, no, he's not doing that. But on the other hand, they sort of have to let him know that his behavior is really inappropriate and it makes them uncomfortable. And they really don't like it at all.
Right.
Yeah, and
so from my perspective, I felt really bad for those girls because I had actually talked to them about it as well, and they were really protective of the situation, not just because of him, but because I think that they themselves were uncomfortable. I think they felt that maybe they would look stupid for putting themselves in that position, which of course they're not. It's never their fault. Those girls need that job, and unfortunately, sometimes girls in that situation have to put up with that, and it just really sucks.
Yeah, I think it's hard too when you're in the situation. Sometimes you aren't thinking that clear. You're thinking about your job and the people that you're working with, and you don't want to get anybody in trouble. And it's easy to say when you're not in it.
Right. Right. Or even when you are, you're like, well, it's not that bad.
Right. You justify it.
You try to justify it because you need the money.
Mm-hmm. No,
and it's a really crummy situation to put your employees in, and that's why you should always, as an owner or a manager or anything like that, you should always err on the side of caution. Even if you just think you're being friendly and you want to show your staff how grateful you are of them, you just don't touch them. You just tell them.
Don't touch me. Don't touch me, please. What were you going to say, Dorinda?
That point going, though, back to the bar staff, because when Jon was talking to them, and saying how Sunday's sales were and how they gave away $700 of the bar, which is outrageous. That they did that. I mean, so these girls are taking what Tim is giving them, but on the other side, I mean, $700 going out the door that's not being rung up. I understand that they had huge pint glasses, but you can't say that's all because of pint glasses when it wasn't even that busy of a night. So these girls are taking what Tim's
giving them,
hard
to believe too.
they're taking from Tim and letting Tim do whatever to make him feel good about himself. That's the way I took it when I started to hear what Jon was saying. over $300 on one night and $700 the next night. That's not from overpouring. That's from overpouring and not putting that money in the register.
Yeah, that's the way I felt about it too. I was like, that was just, I mean, the $300 was a lot to begin with, and then the $700 was so much more. It's just it's hard to believe that all of that was just by oops, just a little overpouring. I agree. So yeah, that's why I love this show. That it shows, unfortunately, everybody's ugly side before they get to the good side.
Yes, it definitely does.
But it makes the good side better.
Absolutely.
Getting there. Do you have a favorite episode?
Oh boy. I love them all. I think every episode, Jon and I were just talking about this, and I was saying how every episode has one great aspect to it. So I can't answer that. No, I think they're all great. I think Jon's amazing, and I think he is he's really shining through in Bar Rescue, and I think that it's a great opportunity for him to say all the things that he wants to say to clients sometimes.
Right, yeah, right. This is a perfect venue for him. I do have one more question. It's a vanity question. I had made a comment to you that I really, really, really liked your hair in this episode, the color, and you didn't like it, and you said you did it just for this episode. And so I'm wondering, what was the change of the hair? I didn't understand what that had to do with the episode.
Oh well, they thought if I changed my hair color that people wouldn't recognize me, but I don't think it worked.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, that makes sense though.
It does, but I do love the hair color. I'm going to tell you, I really love the hair color.
I asked her, can you send me a picture of you with the brown hair? She's like, oh, use one with blonde. It's like, oh, man.
It's funny because I really hated it at the time, and then when I saw the episode, I was like, I guess it didn't look that bad, but I looked a little pale and stuff, so I wasn't all that crazy about it, but thank you.
Well, listen, Nicole, thank you so much for calling in. It's been great chatting with you, and I know, Jon, you guys say that you're huge fans of the show, so we're just really thankful that you guys tweet us out and that you guys are following.
Thanks for having me on, and Jon and everything. We'd love to come back on anytime.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, lady. Have a good night. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Bye.
Bye. I like talking to her.
Yeah, I mean, both guests tonight were amazing, actually.
Yeah, Chef Duffy was all right. Nah. He's probably watching going, I just heard you say that. What? Do you have any final thoughts, lady, from the show?
No, I mean, we talked about it on top of the show. I really thought this show was great. I thought it was a little more endearing because you had the father-daughter thing. Other than that, I loved it. I loved everything, and I loved how they went about just fixing the bar. This was more about fixing the bar than having recipes and doing anything else. It was great.
I say you and I take a little trek over to Orange and check it out because they are still open. They are now the OP.
I would love to.
Their name has changed, which I think is so indicative of the new owner.
Yes.
The dad's staying out of it. It's successful. We need to go down for happy hour.
Oh, and the one thing I liked is the signage. Because remember in the beginning you couldn't see it?
It was underneath.
And now it's all over. You can see it for miles.
Down OPP in Orange. No, it's in Orange, California. Hey guys, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Remember, continue to download us on iTunes and follow us. You can follow me at Kimlai Yingling. You can also follow Dorinda
at Lula Cherry Films.
Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you guys next week for episode 6. Thank you, Phil. Take us out.
Yes.
From Bing.com, executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV Network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz ya later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.